Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Good afternoon, or good evening, I guess. It's crossed over to evening. Pleasure to be here. This is my first time to this event. It's a pleasure to be in front of so many entrepreneurs and people that are here to talk and learn about AI. I'll tell you a little bit about our story as we go through my chat today on how we're putting AI to work for the benefit of our clients. But I'll just start by telling you that this is my fourth startup. I've been in the technology space for a long time. You can tell I'm an old guy. So HuLoop is probably my sunset, I guess. At least I hope it is. I need to create a lot of value for that. Exactly. But what I would say is we're proud because we're building a really terrific AI-powered company right here in the region. And so we're based in Auburn, so not too far from here. And I've got a few of my colleagues. I've got Sean. Say hello, Sean. Sean's an AI ML engineer. And we've got Ruth. Say hi, Ruth. And then we've got Amit. And Amit is principal engineer. He's been with us probably the longest. Most of the bugs in our code have been written by Amit. He's also fixed them, but I think it's job security, I'm pretty sure. I mentioned that we're here in the region, we're building an AI company, and I'm going to say something a little bit counterintuitive. All companies today, if you're a software business, you're an AI company. If you're not, then you're not going to get funded, and you're not taking full advantage of the cloud platforms that are out there. It's almost impossible for you to be an Azure shop, a GCP shop, or an AWS shop and not take advantage of AI in one form or another. And so that isn't so much my story today. My story instead is going to be, what are we doing with it? Because I think more and more AI, regardless of what flavor we're using, and I'll share that with you, is about what can we do to help our customers save money, drive productivity, and transform their business. So part of why HuLoop is experiencing some good fortune, and I'll tell you about the company in just a minute or two, is with all the rhetoric out there, what you hear on the news, everybody's scared to death, aren't they? And what are they scared of? You guys know it. What's fear number one?
China.
Okay, that's true. What was that? It's going to take my job, right? It's going to take my job. Everybody's worried that it's going to take their job. And we're working with organizations that have some of the most conservative people inside their businesses, and they're scared particularly. And so HuLoop has been successful with a couple of the sectors that we're working in and being really their first introduction into AI. So I'll tell you, as a business, we're working on two main verticals. We work with financial services, so banks, credit unions, and adjacent verticals. And then we work on what we call commerce businesses. Those would include retail, wholesale, CPG brands. And so those are the two sectors that we work in. Now, the financial services organizations, you guys know, they're all regulated. And, the regulators are, all over these, banks to, essentially be cautious with any technology that they deploy. Technology has to be regulator friendly. So part of why we've been successful, and I'll tell you that it's a 2.5-year-old company. And so over the last 2.5 years, we're about 70 customers now. And I was just mentioning to Telly in the back, we're probably about 60 people now. About half are here in California, and the other half are in the Delhi, India region. So what I want to do today is just tell you a little bit about what we're doing. Hopefully, for those of you that are entrepreneurs, it will inspire you to say, gosh, I've got a great idea. I'm going to be able to build something great. I'm going to raise money, and I'm going to build a company that's valuable. Some of you, I think, are here to understand that. Others are just saying, what does this mean to me? And I'll kind of share with you what we're doing with our business. Because I feel like there's already been some AI orientation, I'm going to kind of skip some of the level setting. I feel like you guys are well beyond that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on this journey. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll tell you one slide about the company. So I already said that we're based in and we serve about 70 customers today. We're well funded by prestigious investors. Those of you here from the region know my investors, Moneta Ventures, Growth Factory, Mighty Capital happens to be a San Francisco, Bay Area investor, and they led, as Rich said, our Series A. But a lot of our, investors are here in the region. We offer what we call a human-in-the-loop future of work platform. And again, this is specifically focused on how do we help people go from how they work today to how AI influenced technology is going to change the dynamic. Now, our real mission is to harmonize how humans are able to work with automation and AI-inspired intelligence. And we are leveraging AI and intelligent agents. And so we were doing agents before they were a thing. Now maybe the market has a different definition of what agents are today, but I'll tell you a little bit about our agents. Now, we built a platform that can work for companies of any size. So if you look at who's adopting AI today, for the most part, it's large tier one enterprises. And what we're doing is we're leveling the playing field. We're building a platform that medium-sized and small companies and large companies will be able to leverage. And we're also trying to democratize who can use our technology. So until now, if you were introducing AI into an organization, you needed engineers and consultants and that sort of thing. And we're democratizing our platform for non-technical business people. And we're making sure all of these enterprises that we serve, they've made huge investments. They made investments in enterprise software, CRM. Do you think that they want to pull that out? There's nothing harder that you can do for a business than rip out your ERP. And so what we do is we work with whatever they have, no matter how old and archaic it is. And we work with some pretty old archaic stuff. And so we think that it's no longer a choice. And so all enterprises are going to have to make this transformation, whether they're doing it with HuLoop or someone else. That'll be for them to make that determination. But I'll tell you a little bit about the problems that we solve now. So as we present ourselves to prospective customers, there are three things that we focus on. This top row, you probably are used to people problems, technology problems, and process problems. Now, let me kind of lay it out for you. On the people side, every enterprise that we call on is confronting rising labor costs. Even if they wanted to hire more people, it's too expensive and they can't find the talent due to the low unemployment rate. And you guys have seen this crazy job market for the last couple of years. Now, since COVID, employees are working harder than ever. People are burning the midnight oil. They have poor work-home life balance. They're experiencing burnout and stress. Now, while all of these economic and employment issues are happening, 30% of existing employee capacity, I read that to mean payroll, is being wasted on mundane, repetitive work that could easily be automated. So now 30% of my payroll, that's a lot. If I'm a 100-person firm, that's 30 heads, right, that are doing mundane, repetitive work. How do we liberate, that time so our people can focus on more valuable cognitive activities? That's a mission, a purpose for our company. Now, part of the reason why we have people problems is because we've got technology problems. Most of the enterprises that we deal with have a wide variety of technology. They have legacy technology. They have modern technology. It's on-premise. It's in the cloud. It's homegrown. It's something that they bought, right? It's a hodgepodge. I don't think I've seen an enterprise that has an organized, infrastructure of technology. It's a mess. It's disparate. And then every CIO that you talk to has got 15 things that he or she can't get to, right? Long backlog. And so, they want another platform, like they want another hole in the head. And then under the covers, because we've got all of these disparate systems, we've got fragmented data. Now, an interesting truth is that if you look at how work is occurring today, despite those huge investments, well, I invested in SAP or I invested in Oracle or whatever they invested in, 55% of their current work isn't even being automated by that stuff that they spent buku dollars on. And why? It's happening between systems or in spite of systems. It's happening in email. It's happening in instant messaging. It's happening, guess what, in Excel. Excel is probably the number one culprit, isn't it? Yeah. So this is a huge prize, and people think that there's some pain pill that SAP or Oracle's going to solve for them. I don't think so. And then the third thing is process problems. And this is probably the most important. The dirty little secret is that every company that you will call on has got aged business processes. They were built for last decade. They were built for 2 decades ago, and the systems that they use were also built that way. So they've got out-of-date operating procedures, and they've got chaotic governance and control. And so our business is set to solve these 3 problems: people, technology, and process problems. So let me kind of share with you what we do. By the way, these resonate with you? Are you familiar with some of the businesses? I haven't broken any new ground here, right? These are every business on the planet is facing these challenges. So here's what we've done. We built a future of work platform, and it has the ability to identify how work is occurring today, optimize how work can occur, automate the mundane, repetitive BS work, and then maintain those automations over the long term. And so I'll tell you a little bit about the platform in just a second. But remember, I told you that our mission is to help our customers find that 30%. Well, where does that work go? It goes to these guys. Remember we were talking about intelligent agents. These are digital workers that we delegate the work that we don't want our people doing anymore. And they are increasingly becoming smarter and more human friendly. But fundamentally, this lady here is Betty Goodbye. She helps with the purchasing department. And Penny Pricewright is helping ultimately with the pricing department. And Stan Stockman is helping with inventory. These digital workers are purpose-built for the departments that they serve. And I want you to think of, you working within an organization and having a digital helper to do the tedious work that you shouldn't be doing anymore. And so that's the role of intelligent agents being brought to bear. And part of what we're trying to do is, first of all, we're convincing our customers that our digital helpers are very people friendly. So I'm the old guy here in the room, I suspect, but anybody know who Casper the Friendly Ghost is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Casper's a ghost. That would be normally scary, but who's afraid of Casper? Nobody, right? And so when we bring digital helpers to the table and we give them these cute, benign, personified names, we're trying to make them human friendly so the people end up embracing them. Does that make sense?
Oh.
And you notice that HuLoop stands for human in the loop. So I want to just sort of describe what this means. People are afraid of adopting AI because they think it's going to take over their job. So why don't we give them control? We were talking earlier about bias. How about if my digital workers aren't making lending decisions? Or how about if they're not making whether or not the employee gets a raise decision? How about if they're informing, but ultimately the human is making the decision? How about if we give humans the opportunity to oversee the digital workers, to govern them? How about if the digital workers are reporting back to the humans that I did my job and it was successful, nothing for you to worry about? Or maybe they didn't succeed in performing their job and they need the human's help to address something. That's human in the loop, those factors. And so we build everything that we do to be human friendly. Now, I'll just tell you that when I talk to prospective clients, I make a couple of, comments when I'm convincing them to consider digital workers. So I say, well, are you able to hire people? And normally you say, no, I'm having a hard time, right? What if you could find a worker that worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, didn't get sick, didn't take vacations, didn't join unions, right? These are digital workers, right? And they're a new alternative, right? I've got human workers and I've got digital workers that complement them. So that's the idea. So let me share with you with a little bit more detail what we do. So we've got this platform. And the first thing that we do is we help our clients understand how work is occurring today. We've got this beautiful module called Intelligent Productivity Discovery. We put a sensor on the desktop or laptop computer of the worker. It monitors keystrokes, mouse clicks, and screen identifiers. So I know I'm on this menu within the Salesforce.com application or what have you. And it's accumulating this data to help us understand, what work is occurring. Now, what we can do with this technology is we know who's doing the work, when does the work occur, how long does it take, what are the peaks and valleys of the work. Now, that's people technology. We understand that they're using this module, this software, Excel, etc., to accomplish the work. So we understand what the technology is. And I want to kind of draw your attention to the process intelligence. You see that diagram on the screen. See how messy it is? It almost looks like a bowl of spaghetti, doesn't it? And what this is you'll notice it's got dark lines in the middle. The dark lines in the middle are the way maybe the process is supposed to work. All of those lines to the left and right are work deviations. That means that people forgot their training. They're doing some work some other way rather than maybe the standard operating procedure. And so let me just ask you, this is a single process here, one process, and maybe a typical enterprise will have 200 of these across their enterprise. So if I asked you, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner, is it okay with you that your employees have 30 different ways of doing this process? Would that be okay with you? It'd be like, hell no. And so what we want is we don't want that. We want that, don't we? So part of what we're doing with intelligent productivity discovery is we're understanding, how do I streamline the flow of work? And how do I identify repetitive activities that people are doing that can be automated? And so this system will prescriptively recommend, here's how you optimize the work, and here's what you should automate. Now, if you were an enterprise over the last 2 decades and you wanted to do this, you would have hired Accenture or some consulting company to come in, right? And you would have paid lots of money, and they would have given you some binders that were inactionable. What we do is we've got these prescriptive recommendations, and it's quantifying the ROI for you. This is how many hours you'll save or how many dollars you'll save automatically. It's automatically generating this content. Now, what do we do with it? We take it to the next step, which is we have this workflow orchestration capability. And Ruth is very actively involved in driving this now. It's got the capability to build processes, to build forms. Think of building forms like building micro applications. And so I got SAP and Salesforce, but I got this need in the middle that's unsatisfied. How do I build a micro application that serves as the glue between those systems? We can do task orchestration and even approval facilitation. So I'm done. Rich now needs to, approve it. And then when Rich is done, it goes to Ruth and she approves it. So it's basic workflow, but I'm working across the broad enterprise, regardless of what their underpinning technology is. Now with our workflow, we'll trigger automations to run as well. And that's where I'm going next. So I've got this, way of orchestrating work. And as an employee, I know, what do I need to do? When do I need to do it? It's telling me that on the front side. So then what we do is we leverage our intelligent process automation. Now, intelligent process automation is where we take that work that humans were otherwise doing and we create software robots, for lack of a better description, or these agents. And with our platform, it's a no-code platform. So a user can build their bots without having to be a programmer. And, we do this in a couple of very simple ways. One is we can record work being done. So imagine that I am going to do an order entry. I click the record button, I process the order entry, and then I click unrecord, or you stop recording, and it'll automatically generate for me an automation that can execute. And then if I want to edit it, I've got these very beautiful drag and drop microservices where I can connect it to documents, data sources, or et cetera. And you can see that we've got some of these bot personas that we talked about. They can either be attended or unattended. That means that I'm a user and I want to initiate when they go. If I say unattended, it means maybe they run every day at 8:30 a.m. or when I get a new record. And so this is how we're building these software robots to essentially do process automation. Now I want to go a step further. If you look at most enterprises today, every enterprise has a plethora of documents and files, being, all over the place, email bouncing around, their PDFs, their Excels, et cetera. So part of our platform is to help our customers govern those documents and, as they interact with processes and automations. And we can automatically extract and redact information from the content. So imagine I've got purchase orders. So I've got a bunch of purchase orders that come to me as PDF documents. Leveraging OpenAI, we can automatically extract and validate content and publish to a system of record. So no longer are people reading the document and typing content in. Our extraction redaction capability, supports that. And you can see we do a bunch of normal things: purchase orders, checks, invoices, credit card statements. Think about all the documents that could exist inside an organization, and automating content, extraction, validation, and publishing. Remember, it's all about making sure that good data gets into our systems of record. And so we're doing that with this document processing. And then we've got full test automation as well. In fact, the company got started by doing software testing. So, web, desktop, mobile applications. And so, some of our first customers actually used us as a software test automation platform. What we've done, as you can see, is we've expanded it to be fully comprehensive suite of capabilities. Now, what we're trying to do with our testing is I can test the underpinning applications that the customer has. That's important. But we're also using this capability to test and validate our automations, our workflows. And so we're using our own testing capability on top of our own outputs as well. So, and then the last piece is that all of these things are designed to be leveraged on this integrated suite. So what we're doing is we're going to customers before HuLoop. They would go out and they would buy these things individually if they were gettable. And then they would stitch them together. And so what we're doing is we're saying, no, one throat to choke. Engage with HuLoop. We'll give you a fully comprehensive suite of capabilities, and they'll all be designed to work together. So we can connect through APIs or agents to software applications, data sources, documents and files, collaboration tools, DevOps, CloudOps, ticketing. So it's a fully integrated suite. I want to say that there's 65 or 70 different things that the platform can integrate with. So that's kind of the platform at a high level, but I want to kind of share with you now, where's the AI innovation? And so when we think about our focus from an AI perspective, and again, this is contextualized for a buyer, there are three things that we're focused on. Optimizing workflows. And so how do I analyze how work happens and then prescribe, how that process or workflow can be optimized. And again, we're doing a variety of things that I would say are classic applied AI and now generative AI. Second, how can I consume content and publish content? So consuming content could include those PDF documents. Imagine getting a bunch of DocuSigns or something that I have to process. I'm consuming those. And then also, if I'm changing a business process, I'm generating new standard operating procedures, new documentation. Remember, I told you I work with banks, and they need a written documentation on how our solution is interacting with data. And so we provide that. And then third, we've got intelligent agents. And so there's two flavors of this. On the platform, there's HuGo. HuGo is our on-platform digital assistant. And when we first, contemplated HuGo, it was a simple chat bot with, 700 questions and answers that we tried to figure out, please.
Was that your MVP that you're talking about?
No, I would say that the MVP probably was back in the testing days, but initially when we were doing HuGo as an on-platform persona, it was a simple question and answer database where I could voice or text your chatbot, right? Now we're leveraging HuGo to essentially be an on-platform automation engineer, an on-platform orchestrator, and I'll try to describe this in 1 second. And then we did talk about smarter, more friendly, human-friendly, intelligent agents. When I was talking about those bot personas that users interact with, those have to get a lot smarter in our world where they're coaching their end user to say, hey, Ishan, you didn't run your automation today. Would you like me to run that for you as an example? Trying to anticipate the needs of the user. Now, there's kind of a mix of applied AI and generative AI. We are an open AI shop. We're a Microsoft Azure shop. And so we tend to be using the Microsoft stack. Is it the best? I don't know. It doesn't matter. What matters to me is I've got one throat to choke with Microsoft and using Azure OpenAI and some of the Microsoft capabilities. I've got most of what I need to enrich our platform with their capabilities. We focus on building our own intelligent layers ourselves. And so as Sean is part of our team, for example, that is focused on this guided or auto-generated automation. So a user comes onto the platform and they want to build a bot. Imagine, me already knowing, with a limited amount of information, what they need to do to create, that software robot. That's what we mean by guided. Auto-generated is, we've seen it before. And it's something that we've done several times. New customer onboarding is something we've done many times. Would you like us to just build it for you? That's what we mean by auto-generated. So these are some of the examples that we're doing. And as you can see, it's not, to me, no one really cares, okay, what API are you using? It doesn't even come up. What they care about is that HuLoop has got this orchestrated array of capabilities that we're bringing to the table for our clients. And they're getting real work, addressed. And I'll kind of share with you what's in it for our customers next. So when a customer engages with us, remember, it's like a suite of use cases, okay? So for each use case, I can typically find them 20 to 25% improved productivity. Now, remember, that's coming from the 30% that I started with.
Yeah.
And so I'm not getting it all back. And frankly, I'm not working on all things. I'm working on specific things, but 20 to 25%. Yeah, I didn't explain it well. So the second point that I would make is that I can reduce cycle time by 30 to 40%. Now, why? It's because I can have bots parallelize work where a human may do work in a linear way. I can have my platform, parallelize work. I can reduce errors by 90%. Frankly, much better than that. 90% is low bar. Because we're doing the validation, it's closer to the top. I can help those customers get a much better ROI out of whatever they're paying too much money for. SAP, Oracle, you name it, I'm going to help them get a better ROI. And then if it's a regulated customer like the banks, I'm going to help them comply with their regulators, examiners, and audit requirements. So those are examples that the business gets. Now, in simple math, I'll make it even clearer. For every $1 that they pay me, I give them $20 back. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but that's pretty good math, right? And that's a great ROI. So the question I always ask, well, do you have something better to do than a 20x ROI? If so, you should go do that. But they typically don't. So that's why, that's our sales pitch. Now, all of that's for the company. But let me give you another benefit. How about if in addition to the company benefits that our people are happier too, because they're not doing the BS work? Would that be worth something? They're staying longer.
Lower turnover.
Yeah, lower turnover. Yeah, please.
So at one point can I ask questions?
Yeah, you can ask whenever you want.
So the three things that you mentioned, right? So one is you are replacing certain roles altogether through those digital personas. Under the hood, there are agent AIs,
Yeah.
like that part, right? The second is you mentioned an example of purchase order automation. Yes, and the traditional way is paper or ERP based or whatever the case may be. There's plenty of opportunity out there.
Yeah.
And the third is what you mentioned about taking over automation. So the reason I'm mentioning these three pillars is again, like you got these personas that are going to take over. So aren't you actually replacing employees? Right?
Yeah. So
That's a given thing. That's a given thing. And because
so let me give you something counterintuitive. So I mentioned I got 70 customers. I would actually say that very few of my customers replace anybody ever. And so, and they say, well, Todd, then you're giving me a soft benefit. Yeah, productivity is productivity. And all we're really doing is, in a simple way, as they grow their top line, they're not having to grow their staff at the same level. That's one thing that we're doing. Second, If people are focused on more valuable work, cognitive work, and they're not doing the mundane stuff, you get better outcomes anyhow. Now that could be better customer service, better planning, whatever that benefit is. And so while I think large inefficient organizations might try to do what you're suggesting, which is, hey, let me get rid of headcount. The reality is that in my customer examples, I don't find that even to be remotely a motivator. They want efficiency.
I see the trend going that way. I mean, we're not in control of that. We're just flowing with the wave. I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
It's a different opinion altogether. But there is a company that's doing something similar along these lines.
Yeah.
It's just like 12 different bots that are doing different roles, customer service, persona, and then the purchasing and whatnot. And the actual people in the company are just 3. And it's doing a very significant revenue, right? So this, I mean, the concept is excellent. One last question I answer.
Sure.
So basically, the purchase order example that you gave.
Yeah.
So we know how the traditional thing goes with whatever digital
Yeah.
transformation that happened in the 90s with
Yeah.
ERP and all.
Yeah.
How are we changing that piece with the?
Yeah, so let me use a more practical example that we all get. We're a commerce business, a retailer, a wholesaler, some sort of commerce business. We've got a price change, a cost change from our suppliers. So we're automatically consuming and processing cost changes as an example, using our, document extraction and automation. We can auto trigger price changes so the client's not experiencing margin erosion. And then again, ultimately, that's freeing up the pricing analysts from doing data entry, to ultimately making strategic decisions about, what their assortment needs to be, or, ultimately, what should they promote, et cetera. So imagine I can trigger so many more cost changes and price changes, as we're, our inflationary, economy is telling us we need to stay on top of. And before you automated it, this was subject to the capacity of human resource that you would have thrown at it. And so, the ability to keep pace with, all of these supply chain cost changes is a great example of something that we can largely automate. And again, you still need pricing people, promotion peoples and stuff like that, but you don't need people doing data entry to say, okay, I've got, 10,000 items I've got to update, cost on, we can do that sort of thing. Yeah, Kelly?
Based on what you're saying, to me, the thing that keeps coming to my mind is it's that you allow to have more strategic hiring happen rather than something.
Yeah, I think that there are some things that we should just acknowledge. People are better at it than anything we're going to build. You're getting your employee appraisal, Kelly. Would you want that automated, or would you like, to actually talk to somebody, about that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's just some things that, emotional IQ, situational awareness, sensitivity. Let's just realize that we're at a phase in, this evolution of AI where humans have got a major role, and they're going to have a major role for a long period of time. Anybody who thinks that humans are gone, from work in the short term, they're going to miss a golden opportunity to supercharge those humans. Let's help supercharge them. Yes.
And having all these dozens of bots, does that allow you to kind of create a community within your own users where they kind of share best practices?
Awesome question. So what we do in our business is we have this concept called an intellectual capital marketplace. Now, Sean and Amit and Ruth haven't built this yet, and I want it as quickly as possible. But imagine coming to my platform and saying, just back to the question, show me what automations you have in purchasing. 1, 2, 3. All right, that one looks pretty close to what I want. And so we're getting to this point where we're doing high degree of templatize, yes.
Different things that you do, and you just say, this is what I want, and it will give you custom bots.
At least as much as it can. So we have this whole concept of reusable components and, federated automations. And so now what that's meant practically, so let's say I've got banks that all use a Fiserv platform, for example. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have this catalog of automations that are already, capable of interacting with Fiserv, and those are immediately available. It's almost like buying features, on our platform, if that happens to be what's important to the client. And, we're using those and we're editing them. And so, oh, this customer doesn't have Fiserv. They have a different, financial core system. And so what do we need to do to change the reusable component to make it support platform number 2 or platform number 3? So we're getting very sophisticated about that. And this is compressing, time to value. So part of what we're trying to do is when a customer signs up with HuLoop, we try to bring them live within 90 days. Wow. And to be honest with you, we don't do it often enough. We're trying to get much more efficient, about how do you stand up the customer. And again, it's a no-code platform, and there's so many reasons why we should be able to limit scope and get them, quick time to value. And part of this idea is leveraging, those reusable automations, catalog. Exactly. That's right.
When people buy into the system now, is it all in one or like?
We're trying to get that way. So I'm trying to have my customers spend more money with me, and rather than buying all the little piece parts. I want them to buy the whole meal, not just not just the side dish, right? And so and I would say we're getting better and better at selling it as an enterprise system. And I tell them it's the ERP of workforce optimization. And so in the same way that you wouldn't just buy one module from your Oracle ERP, you should buy the full HuLoop suite and enjoy the full, including those upfront benefits. And so there are some companies that know that they can be more efficient, but they don't know where they're going to find those savings. And so if I can tell them, where to optimize work or where what the financial savings would be, diagnostically and prescriptively, that helps them. Were you going to ask a question?
So one, are employees like apprehensive when you're installing it or install that?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And the second thing is, are you familiar with the UiPath?
Yeah, we're trying to kill those guys.
So I went to I've gone to their conference today. Twice already, and some of the stuff that they're coming out with looks pretty legit.
Yeah.
How does your backend tech compare to what they're doing?
So first, let's acknowledge a couple of things about them. They created the market that I live in. I'm a second generation system. They owned the first generation. A lot of people don't realize that's the second most valuable IPO ever. And so, and they sort of lived the dream like us. But, I'll tell you that oftentimes the pioneer in the space is not the one that owns it over the long term. We were talking about Revionics. We had an adversary that owned the market. Today, Revionics is the undisputed leader in that space, and they were second generation. So our mission is to knock them off. And I'm going to knock them off by being simpler, faster, more affordable. I'm going to be more customer friendly. I'm going to have more what I'd call guided capabilities. And I think that they're an amazing company, but my job is to kill them.
Like what Apple did with Xerox, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, look, it starts by, some of what's happened over the last couple of years. The company's getting traction. The company's recruiting and, amazing people to come help us build, a platform that is impactful. I'm saying that for the benefit of the three in the room, kissing up, of course, right? Ruth, you noticed. And what we're trying to do is build a great company that delivers a clear ROI. And I think if I do that, clients will reward me with more business, and I'll, my devious little plan here, and back to your use cases, and it's devious little plan. I'm going to make it so sticky because I'm going to intertwine my workflows and my automations in so many of their business processes, they could never leave me.
Like Apple.
Yeah, kind of. So shh, don't tell anybody.
So Paul, I said something else completely different. You said 2.5 years, right?
Yeah.
And there's probably a big bank client. You're not telling me which one. If they really find, the dollars 20x, right?
Yeah. I
see them acquiring.
Well, they're going to have to bring several dump trucks full of cash.
I think it would be a
I'm just joking, by the way.
They're getting 20x.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
And if it's a system that's improving their efficiency. Okay, now here's the question. Because when you were doing your presentations.
Do you know any bankers? No. You should introduce me to your banking friends. No, I'm just joking.
But then, nowadays, all this stuff is going on with these apps where people are just sending money wherever.
Oh, yeah.
Without even going to the bank.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another issue. What I wanted to ask you about, because you were talking about, when you interchanged the words. Digital helper.
Yeah.
And digital worker.
Yeah.
So the way I think of it is voicemail.
Yeah.
It's a helper.
Yeah.
Siri is a helper.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have one of those things, but you know, those cars that drive themselves or
Yeah.
almost drive themselves.
Yeah.
I think that would be the worker.
Yeah. I think,
So how do you distinguish between helper and worker?
well, so first of all, I'm using language that is client friendly. And so when you talk about bots or you talk about, you give it a geeky explanation, oftentimes they don't get it. And so digital helper, they get. So that's just my semantics that I'm using to explain it in a simple way that they will understand. We call them intelligent agents. And again, the agents can be, set to do very narrow things or very comprehensive things, right? And which is where you're going with the definition. And the client can ultimately make that determination as to, how robust they want, the use case to be.
It's very yield customer profile.
So today, it's companies under $15 billion in revenue down to, so I would say, think of the market, extra large, medium, small. I'm going after large, medium, and small today. I got to be able to make money. So I would say, to me, that's a question of how many people they may have. And so I would say, we have some customers that are pretty small in terms of revenue, but the number of employees. And so how much of an impact can I make to the workers there is kind of and is it profitable to chase? But, I would say that, when you were talking about UiPath as an example, they're amazing at going after the Walmarts and the Bank of Americas. We haven't built up that type of a reputation yet. We're still working our way up the food chain. We'll get there, eventually, but there's so much money in, the have-nots. So tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, those are the businesses that frankly, don't have the armies of, people and so they're underserved.
But can you integrate some of their technology and see like your platform and then be able to work with their customers?
Yes, in some cases we do that. Yes. So there's all kinds of things that we can do to make our customer experience better, or even upstream if they have supply chain partners. And so we're not limited to just working within their four walls. There's lots of things that we can do that can be organization. Yeah.
Do you have any construction clients?
No.
Would you have any interest in being?
Sure.
So I've done a lot of work in that space and sold a bunch of project management software.
Yeah.
And the project management software doesn't talk to each other.
Yeah, right.
And the general contractor may be on Procore,
Yep.
and the subcontractor is whatever.
Right.
And there's 10 different things. Could your system, through the different, mechanisms, parse the data to their ERP and?
Yeah, oh yeah, we do that all the time.
Yeah.
So we can be the glue that ties these disparate systems together, and oftentimes, we find ourselves being used as what I would call the poor man's interface.
Yeah.
So instead of having to write, an interface, we have this over the top. So when I have a digital helper, just to use the term, you can tell me if it's a worker or a helper that's logging in, clicking on certain menus, either entering data or extracting data, then logging out. That's not an interface, and I can do that a lot faster than a software engineer can build an interface.
Okay. The follow-on question is, you've got two different workers in construction, like project management, very senior.
Yeah.
And very junior.
Yeah.
And they're losing all the senior to retirement.
Yeah, that's right.
And they want to be able to have that knowledge base, so those
Yeah.
digital helpers would say, this is how we do it. And,
Yeah.
and then if the company wants to, start to see their bottlenecks,
Yes,
they can visually see it through your system
yes, right.
and say, well, let's take out these 10 things
Yes.
and get people paid faster.
Yeah, and I'll say this, truthfully, I could work in virtually any industry. The reason why we don't is because we're a startup and,
Right.
We're managing our cash resources.
Yeah.
And so, and we want those reusable use cases that we were talking about. And so if I can be, God's gift to a retail enterprise or to a bank, and have lots of, sufficiency in terms of, capabilities. That just means I'm going to get more retailers and more banks faster.
Yeah.
And so we deliberate all the time. And so, look, I'm a salesman.
Right.
And so I have a hard time saying no to anything. I admit that, as my colleagues can attest. So, but I've tried, to stay maniacally focused on the areas where we found product market fit to begin with. And the intent is to add verticals in a practical way going forward. But I have so much addressable market with the verticals that I have. It's not a shortage of opportunity. It's just where do we want to invest the resources? So what we have decided to do is we're going to focus on these named verticals, and we're going to be experimental.
What are the main verticals?
Retail, wholesale, CPG, banks, credit unions, collections. And not yet. Not yet. Healthcare, I think, is a big, wonderful opportunity. We just haven't taken it on yet. We get inbound opportunities pretty regularly. So what I was about to say is that what we've decided to do is that as we start to look at other verticals, we're looking for local clients that, maybe a healthcare, client or a construction client, sort of build up our muscles, carefully with, someone that we can work closely with. And so that's how we'll, expand the verticals, and we'll expand upmarket to your previous point, just as soon as we feel like we can, be, as scalable as UiPath or, some of the others are, and imagine hundreds and hundreds of bots and, within an enterprise, a global enterprise, we have to get to that sort of scale. Yeah, please.
So 2 questions, business and technical.
Yeah.
How do you do a GTM? How do you acquire customers? Is it like in a word of mouth, companies like these, or do you go for targeted?
So we definitely focus on industry specific events, and so we speak at trade shows, we exhibit, we we have a sales force. We also leverage partners, and one of the big initiatives this year is to expand our partner network. We expect 40% of our business this year to come from our partner community. But yeah, from channels, and they could be resellers, they could be OEMs, it could be a referral partnership.
What's a typical profile of a partner in your case?
There's a pretty wide description. It could be a consulting firm, a global SI. We work a lot here with Agria in Folsom, and they're a terrific partner, and they have a bunch of trained people on HuLoop already, and so they sell deals and they implement them themselves and send us a check. It's a beautiful thing.
Okay, so the technical part of the question was the Azure services that you have. What part of the services, what services of Azure do you use for this agent AI?
Got it.
AI models are already hosted pre-built. You can build custom.
Yes, and there's actually quite a few, and a range of capabilities. I would say that when we were talking about the document piece as an example, originally we got started with cognitive services, OCR, and then we started moving into the NLP world for some of the document search capability. Interestingly enough, when we transitioned over to OpenAI, demonstrably higher accuracy and better performance. And so when you have terrible documents that have got writing on them and stuff like that, and you're trying to derive insights from those documents, we've proven that OpenAI is much more accurate than the previous generations that we were working with. And but I would say that there's dozens of OpenAIs that we're using, including the IP that we built for ourselves around it. So we're not. Our view is we're kind of an orchestrator. And so we were talking earlier, what if OpenAI gets taken over by a better, faster solution? We'll have the ability to pivot to one of the other.
Compared to the high level.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And now remember, our job is to use what the market is bringing to bear. Where that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. I'm not going to have $1 billion or whatever it was we were talking about, right? I won't have that. So let's leverage that, and let's figure out where we want to use our investment capital. Does that make sense?
So when you do the implementation, you have to map out the current processes, right? And
That's if you're not using the software to do it.
but you're putting the agent on a number of people's computer. Do you put it on all the computers?
As many as we can, and that will so path one is that will auto map it for you. You don't have to do anything.
How long? So is it a week process, a day?
You'll start getting insights within a couple of weeks, yeah.
Right.
And so, and then of course, the longer you leave the sensors there, you'll be able to see, say again, patterns, exactly, auto-generated patterns.
It seems like that in itself would be its own service. Or
Yeah.
you do that. You sell like an introductory
No,
diagnostic type
I'm
of
trying
thing?
not to. I'm trying to include it. So if that's problem identification, it doesn't solve the problem. The rest of the modules are where we solve the problem. And so you think of that as kind of, finding, what are the opportunities to transform? But ultimately you need to use the rest of the platform.
No, I was just thinking this might be a way to.
It's a lead magnet.
It's
basically.
like
It's a lead magnet.
yeah.
That's right.
It's essentially that, you know,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to analyze your thing, and then you show them the problem,
Yeah.
and then here's the
And
solution.
you're able to give them their ROI
So-
estimate.
Yeah, we are definitely trying to do that only with paid customers. So, convince them upfront that, yeah,
Well, it seems like you said something like what that does is like what Accenture would charge a
exactly.
bookload,
Yeah, it does.
ton of money, and
It's very disruptive to consulting business. Now, you don't have to do that. You could have, you could do what you said where, our team or the client's team goes in and maps how it works today. And then we just decide how to transform it with automation or with workflow optimization. So that is also done with some of our customers who may be a little bit fearful of having the sensors.
right.
With the sensors, we can control what are we monitoring. So, we're not watching people's Facebook or their Instagram. We're watching their work-related activities. We can carve out, okay, we don't want to look at this and we want to look at these things. And so usually that's sufficient to convince people to, give us the go on the sensors. But if they don't want to do that, they can go straight into workflow or automation or document processing.
Seems like you just have to do a higher level, because I get why he wants to keep a paywall behind seeing like through his automations.
I was just saying you should do that, but just charge for it.
Yeah, it's charged for it, right? And ultimately, that's what I sometimes have to get my head around is that everybody wants a free lunch. And we're building a for-profit company. We're not profitable right now. Let me just assure you, we're burning, more than our fair share. But over the long run, our thesis is that we're going to build $100 million business right here in your backyard, and it's going to be worth $1 billion. Wouldn't that be an amazing thing?
So you mentioned paid.
Mhm.
What's your monetization? When you start with,
It's a SaaS model. It's subscription.
what's the subscription?
Yeah, and actually what we've done, I'm glad you asked that question. So we have these starter kits that we put in place. And so if we're dealing with the smaller customer that's not quite sure of the value, I will, give them the starter kit. And, that there's some amount of value that they'll be able to derive from that, and then they can expand from there. So over the course of time, the vast majority of our revenue will come from expansion revenue inside the clients that we have. So over the last year or two, the reason why we went from 6 to 70 customers is it's been new account acquisition with the idea that these accounts that we're acquiring today, even if they're not robustly profitable, this minute over a time horizon become much more so. So that's how we're doing it. It's either pay as you go. It's classic software as a service. They can pay, as they get the benefits, or
But they can still call you up and say, hey, like, I need help with.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Please.
Are you doing all of the implementation yourself, or could like there be like implementation consultants?
Yes.
working?
We do that. In fact, that's what I was mentioning when I was talking about partners. We're trying to grow our partner community. We have this idea, and it may be, a challenge, but, we could build a very big services business, but my investors really aren't counting on me to build a big services business. They want me to build a big subscription, high margin software business. And so, of course, we need people who can do implementation. But what if you're a client that needs more help? You need transformation, consultation, change management. So our idea has been, okay, that's the world of our consulting partners, who will help clients with either those professional services that might be more long-term or managed services. And so I mentioned Agria. Agria does automation as a service where they'll do staff augmentation and help a client build a COE around our platform. And that's a big money maker for them. So what my harebrained idea is we're trying to do what we're calling our Uber-like services model. So a client will buy from HuLoop, maybe one of the starter kits, et cetera. And we're recruiting a portfolio of partners that are trained, certified, background checked on our platform. And the idea is when you get in an Uber, you don't know what car you're going to be in or who the driver is, right? And so we're thinking about the automation engineers, could effectively be gig workers or partners that ultimately want to make money, surrounding the HuLoop platform. And that gives us the ability to not have to hire headcount ultimately, to scale with the professional services demand that's
So
out there.
you have like a formal training program, certification
Yeah,
program?
we do. We do.
No,
Like a what?
MLM.
An MLM? I don't know what that is.
multi-level marketing.
Oh, no, we don't.
So there is like a true wholesome ecosystem.
Yes, there's HuLoop University, and we have certifications. And yeah, the goal is to get as many no coders using our platform. And some customers actually bring our platform in-house, and they just, they learn our no code platform, and they never pay us a nickel, and that's fine too.
People you have certified right now.
Well, I was telling that we have 30 here in California and 30 in India, and I would say that probably 15 of those are service delivery people inside my own team. And then our partners, we've got probably, 20, 25, training people. Now that's not enough to hit my goals. So that's why the partner recruitment activity. But I would say the 15 plus the 25 is probably the total
How
amount.
long would it take to get certified?
A month. Not full-time, just, going through the HuLoop University. It's pretty quick.
For me, everything based on what you said, that would be the best area for growth.
Mhm.
What could be invest into that community
Yeah.
of HuLoop certified?
Yep.
Because I work in the event tech space, and one of the big competitors is CVent.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
bad honor to be CVent
Yeah.
certified.
Yeah.
But you can do that with an org.
Yeah.
So that's why it doesn't, maybe someone of your clients, maybe somebody wants to become
Yeah.
HuLoop certified. And then you build a community, kind of like this one.
That's
where They meet on a regular basis, they share
Yes.
products, and then they share your product.
I like this, and so I'm recruiting here today, right?
Todd, is there a cost for the certification to go to this?
Generally, I would say yes, but no. I say no because, it's in our best interest to make sure that people are trained, on a
Coupon code from you then?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I am trying to get people, trained and certified. And so it's in my interest that they go through our HuLoop University. We need a relationship with them of some type, but I'd say usually I'm not charging for that. Yeah, please.
For the service provider, what are the fees that they charge to set your system up, hourly rates or?
Yeah, and that's up to them. We don't guide that. And so,
I think typically we go into a statement of work. So I have a small staffing company and I can create to do some other things. But it all depends on the client. I don't know what the pricing is for you, for the platform or whatever. But, it would be a collection of bill rates. I think it depends on how many folks. We would put together a price plan for it. I think every situation would be a little bit different.
when every client wants, so you got a buyer and you've got a seller. So we don't need to be in the middle of the services
Yeah,
provider.
no, I understand it. Like, on your model, I work for a company, sell project management software, that they'd say our fee for $350 an hour, they can get somebody else for $200.
Yeah.
And that way, all the people go, the choice to back go directly to the company.
Yeah.
And the company doesn't want that anything.
Well, and, look, if people need our help, we're there for
Right.
them. But, again, our goal is to have a money-making, environment for our partners as well.
Right.
And we want them to have thriving services business. I know that are we doing?
Oh, that's fine. I was looking at.
And then your service base would then find new clients and then they get, for whatever it's just costs, they would get a percentage of that.
Yeah, in other words, if they sold my software, I would pay them, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, happy to pay them.
yeah, sure.
So I'm a startup founder. I'm looking for some advice from you. I am also looking to do a significant capital raise next year around the several $1 million mark for my company. And from MVP to the seed round raise, what was the major metrics to get to that $5 million raise? So after you developed the MVP, until then, how long did it take and what was the biggest success metrics?
So we sort of raised a little bit at a time. And so the $5 million represented the end of our seed round, not the beginning. We were being very capital efficient, just taking a little bit. And then Moneta came in at the end and, helped us to close the seed round. So I didn't need as much capital to get started, and ultimately it got to the point where it was attractive enough where an institutional investor like Moneta, wanted to lead the round.
That attractive enough? Talk to me about that.
To them, let them speak for themselves, but to them, there was a certain ARR, a number that was important to them. They were looking for adoption metrics. For the guys that, my first outside money was Growth Factory.
Yeah.
That small check from them. Say again.
Marketing.
Yep. And terrific investors, local, right? Lots of my investors are local. And so, but then to get to the next level, it was, to the Series A, it was definitely ARR driven. And to get to the next level, it'll be ARR driven. So if everything goes according to plan, I would say by mid 2026, our company will hit an inflection point where we're cash flow positive. That's the milestone we're driving towards. Before we get there, we will make the determination probably to go raise a meaningful Series B. Until now, we've raised a total of, I'd say $12, $13 million right in that zip code total. And my goal is to, not raise more money than we need, but as we go, now for, what I call beyond scale up mode, where we're a global company and, we need a lot more, resources. That could be $20 to $30 million raise at that point,
How many
right?
employees do you have now?
60, the 30 here in California and then the 30 in India.
$7 million. What stage of funding are you in?
We did a seed and a Series A.
So, quick question, how many modules, and it seems like it's a la carte, but you said something about the site.
Yeah, we're selling it as a unified suite. But if a customer wanted to just do testing or wanted to just do
That's what I meant, how many modules?
Six.
Six, okay.
six, yeah.
How long does a typical average implementation, what's the life cycle, 2 months, 3 months? Or
Yeah, about 90 days is what it's taken us. And now the module that Richard was asking about, the discovery module, that we can have up in 2 weeks. So that one's very fast. All we're doing is deploying sensors and then the data starts, aggregating, in effectively the platform. But, for us to look at workflow or automation, that's 90 days minimum.
Can I ask a question?
So, yeah, please.
Do you use your own product in your company and has it
Yeah.
improved your process?
You're all done.
Well, that's a funny story. I would have said no. It wasn't too long ago. So imagine we started as a testing company that didn't do any, test automation. And, I actually, this is funny, but actually had an engineering leader that thought that we should go with one of my competitors for testing. And so, you're not with us anymore. We use HuLoop. We use HuLoop to automate our own testing. And we are looking for other things that we can do inside our business. I would say that we're pretty small in scale. And so, I don't have quite the same drivers that some of my, clients do, but, the intent is to use it for other things as well, beyond QA. So that was a transparent answer, wasn't it?
No, that makes a lot of sense too. Like your target is probably these bigger
Yeah.
companies that have more of this,
More to automate.
repetitive things that can.
Yeah, and we're such a young company that, I don't think that we have a whole lot of patterns, at this point. So, yeah, please.
Do you charge per user or a site license or?
Yeah, there's a little bit of both. So we are a user-based subscription model. And I think that's where you were going with your question. So now the reason why we do that is the other guys that we were talking about, they have these really crazy variable pricing models and clients hate them. They really hate them. And it seems to be becoming very cachet, where all of a sudden you find out and again, the 30 days after what you really spent. Now we're a buffet model. You pay users and, platform based upon how many. And then you can have as many automations as you want. It's in my interest that people adopt as much as possible. So I don't tax their, other than as they add more users or add more modular capability.
Do the customer own the digital helpers?
No.
Or
I do. In fact, yeah,
Name them all?
you can name them whatever you want. You can name them, you can use our dumb names, or you can name them yourself.
Can you create them yourself?
It's funny,
AI?
Do they have like an avatar created?
so we
Yeah.
don't, we should, but, there were some folks that, of course, I wanted to say thank you, that helped our company, last year. And so, I had, some digital helpers created, that sort of look like them, and our designer did a really nice job mimicking them, but at some point we'll probably offer a little bit more flexibility there.
Big Boop, Hello Kitty. Silent Lucy, I mean, it's a ball, come on.
We do have some pretty cool names, and I would say that we're trying to make them fun, right, and
Yeah.
make them approachable.
To tap back to the idea of, well, the big client, the bank.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, wanting to acquire you, making an offer you can't refuse, right? If that doesn't happen, thinking back to your investors, I know something about some of them. They're probably expecting you to be an IPO.
We will.
To blow it up, right? Whatever.
Definitely, and in fact, they've made it clear to me that they expect that of me. But what I would say is, first, you have to build a great company with a great product. I got three stakeholders: my investors, my associates, and my customers, and we add value for them, and then that gives us the right to have optionality. And I would say that we could IPO, and that's easier to do these days. We could sell. We could do our own, roll up. And so UiPath went from, really just having an RPA module. They're trying to deliver the same thing we are. They just happen to acquire, disparate things. We're building ours. And so I could roll up my competitors, right, and recapitalize the company. So lots of options, but I think the critical thing is for, us to hit our growth objectives and to make sure that we're retaining customers, expanding our revenue.
Couple more details if you share.
Please.
Did they want you to be a C Corp?
Yeah, we're C Corp.
Did they take preferential shares or something of that?
The institutional investors always will take preferred shares. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
do they have a timeline what they're expecting?
well, they do, but it's probably more patient than me. I would say again.
I say the time limit is the vintage of their fund, right? When it runs out.
Yeah, and so I'm at the early stage of all of my investment funds, and so that won't be the driver. But I would say that I always tell people that when you think about exiting a company, and like HuLoop or others, you can just distill it down: green bananas, yellow bananas, brown bananas. You don't want to sell when it's a green banana. Ideally, it would be right. If you wait until it's a brown banana, there's diminishing value. And so,
I was gonna say, you could turn wild brown bananas into some good bread pudding.
you can, exactly. I would just say though that waiting too long is a mistake also, right? Giving your investors liquidity is something I think about. It's my job as the CEO.
The other businesses you've done, were you able to get that rating?
3 times.
Know what to do.
I would say one was way too long. One was way too long. One was a brown banana, I think, and we probably left money on the table. But I would say we had one that exited way too prematurely, but the offer was great, and somebody made an unsolicited offer, and so
You learn.
I guess if you average them all out, I've got nothing but yellow bananas.
So how did you go from like, you started as an automation testing. So what was that path to where you are now?
We looked at the market and we saw that testing was largely saturated, and business process automation was underserved, fragmented. And it wasn't just in aggregate, it was in specific verticals where we thought that, it was completely underserved. And so we just decided to pivot the underpinnings of our system, whether you're doing test automation or process automation, or fundamentally similar. So, and that's proven to be a good fortune.
Yeah.
Yeah, good fortune. So guys, I know that I want to make sure I get you out of here on time. First, thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you. I ask you to connect with me, follow whatever your journey is. If there's anything we can do to help you folks, let us know. We're all about building great technology in this community. Who knows, maybe our paths will cross. Maybe you'll join the HuLoop mission along the way. That would be great. But I just want to stress the privilege being in front of you, and hopefully you liked a little bit about what you heard. Believe me, we're not like high-fiving each other. We haven't arrived yet. We just have had a good track record. There's a lot more work to build value in this company. But monitor our progress and root for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.